YouTube, greetings and salutations. This video, again, going off the book, I'm going to discuss negotiating. And the main thing behind negotiating overseas is that you never take the first price. Never take the first price. Unless you're in like a supermarket or you're in a grocery store or you're in an establishment that's professional that specifically has the amount and the price tag listed. That is different. Obviously, this video doesn't apply to that. As much as possible, you want to go to those stores, but obviously, if you want a better deal, if you're in a market, obviously, there's not going to be any price tags. And occasionally, in some places, you might be in a market and they'll put their own price tags, but still, this video applies. Everything is negotiable. Never take the first price. Everything is negotiable. And it gets to a stage after amassing a certain amount of abundance, it gets to a stage where should I even bother negotiating? Sometimes, like, I just can't be bothered and I just accept the first price that's given if I think it's fair. Um, but in general, when buying things, there's two different strategies that I would like to discuss. So, first is going to different vendors and comparing the price. That's one of the best things you can do because someone's always going to be like, this person's a foreigner, this person's not from around here. Let me try and extract as much as possible from this person. These guys, someone came into the house and I was not expecting a guest, and it ended up being my grandmother. So, yeah. So before I turn to her, let me see. Okay, so I mentioned I was discussing comparing vendors, and I did this even in the West. Like, I wanted to get my laptop fixed. I went to this place, and that place, and compared the prices. Then you sort of get a range. Obviously, I was in my home country, but still, this still applies. If somebody thinks they can rip you off, they're more likely to. If somebody thinks that you have money, they're more likely to give you a high price in general. So, in general, you want to shop around. Another thing is not buying anything unless you have an idea of the price. And the internet can be useful for this. It's not always useful, but for example, eBay, Amazon, obviously those are typically Western tools, but there's typically going to be something within the region that you're in that you can just sort of use to get a general idea of the price. So that's important to know. And that's what I use. For example, if I want to buy a bucket, for example, I might open it up and see, okay, the bucket prices. And if I go somewhere in person and they're giving me a higher price than what I'm seeing it for on the delivery service, I won't buy it. Well, in general, I use this a lot. I did use like dating apps. If I'm going to a place where I don't know people, or I would befriend people in my neighborhood and things like that. And then I would sort of be asking it, how much should this cost? How much should the banana cost? How much should 10 liters of water cost? And that kind of thing. And using a local to help you get by. And typically, relationships are transactional. So you're expected to give them something in return. I mean, I have had friends that have just, or people I've met overseas that have just given to me out of the love of their heart, and that's fine. That's cool. That's different. That does happen. But yeah, those are typically you. I recommend being adept at sales. Sorry, not necessarily being adept at sales, learning the basics of sales. Because if you can sell, you'll never go broke. You can always sell. So that's something to take into account. The most important skill, because if you can sell, you can always make money. If you lose everything, if you can sell, you can always make it back. So negotiation is a part of sales. And like if somebody says this price, I would say just slash them in half, 50%, slash them in half, see what they say. And you want to try and sort of see where you can go. But you should ideally have a price in mind. This is not a negotiation video. This is just in general. Now I'm going to read the text here. As a tourist, you'll be taxed if you are in foreign lands. I call it the foreigner tax. Even if you don't consider yourself a tourist, when you travel to destinations, you will be treated like one if you appear to be different. And like I said in previous videos, you cannot hide the fact that you're a tourist. Unfortunately, most people in countries will deem that you are rich and you can afford to pay a premium. So you often won't be given the local price. Even if you're traveling on a budget, you're not exempt. Their logic is if you have enough money to leave your country, you have a passport, you hop on an airplane, you're rich. It's reasonable. That's what I've written. It's reasonable. Bear in mind that depending on the country you're going to, most people have never left that country they're in. So even having a passport, which you have, is seen as a luxury. So you guys have to understand, some people have never left their state, never left their city. In fact, many Americans don't ever leave America, and there are many without passports. It's a fact, if you don't know. When it comes to traveling, as someone who is from the Western world, US, dollars, pounds, euros, etc., yeah, you're going to be seen as different. I always recommend traveling to places where the currency is stronger and you get more bang for your buck. And this is going to be the case in 99% of countries if you're using dollars, pounds, euros, all of those things. Maybe some places like the Japanese yen, I don't really know how strong that currency is, but yeah. Again, I've written here, I recommend watching some negotiation videos or investing in courses, books, training. As a general rule of thumb, whether you're buying fruits and vegetables, clothing at the market, never accept first price. Everything is negotiable. The most important aspect of negotiation is having the ability to walk away. So I didn't mention this. Never need anything from someone you're buying from. You don't need it truly. So if you really want it, you don't need it. The only true needs are food, water, and shelter. And there's always a competitor who will be selling the same thing just a few minutes away. So this is just that mindset shift of the best negotiation tactics, the ability to walk away. Just a few, I'd say about 3 to 4 weeks ago now, I was walking with my brother. And obviously, we're in a foreign country. They came to visit. Even though by myself, I might be good, but because I'm with him and he's coming with all this American energy, like, wanted to buy some bananas. And I knew the price of bananas. I bought it like 700, 800. And then they were like 1,500 when they see us pull up together. Or if it wasn't 2,000, pull up together. We're just walking away. It's like, it's not a must that we eat the bananas from there at that time right now. Just walked away. He's like, oh, 1,000, 1,000. And he's bringing it down. Like, that's what happens. So ability to walk away. And you see this a lot if you're going to places like in the Middle East or in Northern Africa, you'll see this a lot. You're walking away and then they're bringing the price down. What do you want? What price do you want? That kind of stuff. So having the ability to walk away and really not need these material things is obviously the best negotiation tactic. Here's a strategy I employ as a lover of fruits and vegetables. You can either A, ask a local to give you the prices of things so you know, or B, go to various vendors. I did mention this. I choose three and ask the price of things with no intention to buy so you get a good understanding of prices. And then my uncle once told me, well, you have to pay for the accent. And people don't understand this, but this is my normal base accent. I'm not using any effort to use this accent, but I do have an American accent. I do have various African accents. I can switch up my accent. And I do not typically, I'm not going to go to a vendor if I'm in the middle of and talk like this because obviously in their mind, yeah, it's just not wise. It's not a wise thing to do. So I do change my accent. But if you're in a country where English is not the main language, I would recommend learning basics to do with shopping, such as how much is this, take me here, that's too much. And also perfecting your accent. That's what I've written here. If you practice, perfect your accent, you'll likely get a fair price. So I can speak Swahili because I lived in the eastern region of Africa for quite some time. And my accent is good. Like if I speak you, I'll sound like a local. Whereas if you see this a lot where if a certain European might speak, you'll hear the accent. So it's very important to not just learn the language. Like, I would hate to be able to speak Mandarin and then have like an English twang or an American twang to my Chinese accent. Like you need to really like get good. Yeah, if you yeah, you'll likely get a fair price if you know the language, and that's if you look like the people, of course. But even if you don't, like if you're a European guy, and just to use an example, you're in East Africa and you're speaking good Swahili and you sound like a Swahili guy, they're gonna give you the like normal price just because like when you can speak someone else's language, they love you more for it, they respect you more for it. Um, and yeah, oftentimes, yeah, I forgot to mention this, you don't even need to talk. Oftentimes, you don't even need to talk, and they'll be able to spot if you're a tourist. That is true. But I've also said when negotiating, there's various times I haven't said a word and they have understood me. Maybe like I picked up, let's say I'm trying to buy this water bottle, and I just say, and just use sign language. Like you don't have to use your mouth. Not everyone can talk, so definitely learn some sign language. There was a time, I kid you not, I bought a sofa and I negotiated it down. I just learned the basics in a foreign country, somewhere in South Africa. I just negotiated it down until I got the price. And he didn't know that I couldn't speak the language un, until I was going. I had a basic understanding. My listening skills of the language are pretty decent. So yeah, that's the video.